everybody, welcome back to a new episode of Brew with Memli. Happy New Year. Hopefully this year for you will be full of great coffee and great company, all the good health and good brewing for you this year. And to kickstart the year with excellence, I brought to you 3 outstanding coffees that is part of our subscription, but also available to purchase online. We have our coffee from Rwanda, Brazil, and our new geisha from Panama. As I'm brewing these, I'm going to tell you more about the coffees. Our first coffee from Rwanda is a red bourbon washed processed from Shyira. It is sitting at 1700 meters above sea level, so higher in elevation. And here the meticulous process is really about triple sorting. So they sort the coffee before removing the skin. They sort the coffee on the tank with the floaters, and they do another sorting after. So the excellence is really on the green coffee quality here. As a result, you have those excellent notes of honey, floral like chamomile or black tea, as well as bright fruit notes like tangerine and citrus fruit. Our second coffee comes from Brazil. This one is a Daterra collection. Daterra estate is known for its excellence and often used in competition level. And here it is the low calf reserve. So why low calf? Because for this a lot they've used 2 unique varieties, Aramosa, which is a mix between Arabica and Racemosa. This is another variety of coffee that is very low in caffeine. And Lorena. Lorena is also known as Bourbon Pointu for its small shape and low caffeine content. Having low caffeine allows you to have less bitterness. The coffee farm sits at 1200 meters above sea level, so a little bit lower in elevation. But here we have a coffee perfect for the sweet tooth, for some dessert pairing, with notes of nougat, caramel, with some fruits as it cools down, like raisins and grapes. Last but not the least, probably one of the best geisha I've tried in 2023. That's why we sourced it for this year. It is a geisha from Panama, from Finca Lorraine, with Adaura coffee. And this one sits at 16 to 1700 meters above sea level. And it's a dry, natural fermentation. You super delicate notes of rose, strawberry jam, cherry candy, and some tropical fruit like lychee. All those brews, I use the V60 with the new Cyberist B3 hybrid filter. To me, it's one of the best filters I've tried, and I really like using it. For the brew, I use 4 equal pours of 50 grams, so it's 200 grams of water for 12 grams of coffee, and I just upped the dose with 13 grams of coffee for our Rwanda and Brazilian coffee. You brew between 2.5 minutes and 3 minutes. That's to me where I got the best flavor notes. Especially for the Brazil, try to finish it quite earlier to get the fruity notes. As I said, these coffee will all be part of your subscription, limited for the geisha and your regular ones with the Rwanda and the Brazil Daterra. All are in a limited quantity. And here, let's start smelling. So on the Rwanda from Shyira, you can really recognize that kind of washed red bourbon. You know I love red bourbons and bourbons in general because they have both the sweet aspect and the fruity ones. And here you really can smell the honey, the floral, and a bit of the citrusy notes, but the fruity notes will come more on the taste and flavor. Second from Brazil, much more rounder, smoother, even nuttier, so that's why that caramel nuts reminds us of nougat. And you can still taste a bit or smell a bit of the raisins, dried fruits. And so these really remind us of first the kind of brightness, sweetness of sort of Californian afternoon, where you will find those tangerine notes, those floral notes, those really sweet and bright cup of coffee. It's sweeter than, I would say, an Ethiopian coffee or Kenyan coffee, which are known to be more delicate and floral. A Rwandan coffee is more on the sweeter side with some honey notes. That's how you can recognize Rwandan, Congo. It's, you know, when you get more on that honey / maple syrup or molasses that you can find more in Congo or Uganda. Last but not least, for our limited edition, and we only have few bags remaining for this coffee already. This is just it's just one of the most complex and delicate coffee I've ever tasted, with once again those more purplish flowers like rose or violet. On the sweeter side, we have the strawberry jam, the cherry candy, and some tropical notes. Let's taste. So, as usual, we always start with the end in mind. And so here, we wanted to showcase sort of a bright, sunny afternoon, the perfect dessert pairing, and as we are also approaching Valentine's Day, a more sort of love-infused cup of coffee. Let's see what we got. In terms of roasts, they are all on the lighter side. The Brazil is a little bit more developed, mostly because with a smaller bean, it gets darker a little bit quicker, but it's actually, I think, yeah, it is the shortest roast. And a very light one for our geisha. That we only roast on Ikawa for that one, because we only have a small quantity. By using 13 grams of coffee, you are going to have more intensity. And I'll create more intensity in order to increase the aroma intensity. If the aroma intensity increases, the perception will increase as well. And here you have like a really sweet and really bright cup of coffee. If you use 12 grams of coffee, so a classic 1:16 instead of a 1:15, that's fine. You're gonna have a much more balanced cup of coffee with a nice sweetness and brightness. But the sweetness may be sort of, you know, overpowering the delicate floral and fruity notes. And so as I said, I finished here around 3 minutes for all the brews except the last one, which lasted 2 minutes and 45 seconds. And here I can really taste a bit of floral, a bit of honey, even some citrus fruit, and especially here the tangerines. So 2 citrus fruits, tangerines and lemons, 1 floral, and here on the floral it can be chamomile / black tea, and on the sweeter part it's honey. Let's try out Brazil now. Totally different. With new down on acidity, we gain in texture, and on those chocolatier, nuttier notes, that's why we have more nougat here. Nougat is a confectionery, no, nougat is a kind of candy bar with sort of brown sugar, nuts, some syrups that you have a lot in the south of Europe. And first you won't taste the fruits yet, but as it cools down, you start tasting more and more raisins and then grapes. So we will let it cool down to really taste, but first, the first sip you have is super sweet, super round, quite mellow in acidity. Oh, this one is perfect. It starts with the roses, and then you have such a deep sweetness, like strawberry and cherry. And the finish, the kind of afterbreath reminds you of almost like a lychee, but not like a lychee fruit, almost like a lychee ice cream or sorbet. As you can see, I almost finished those. I don't allow myself to brew it because it's quite an expensive coffee, but for the sake of this video and for you, I do this just for you. In terms of scoring here, we are on the 88, 87, and 92. Let it cool down, let's let it cool down and come back with the final notes. All right, now we are approximately 3 minutes later on. And that's approximately the time it takes me to kind of enjoy a cup of coffee using 200 grams of water. Usually I drink that throughout 7 minutes, 10 minutes to take time to really taste all the different aspects, hot, warm, cold. That's where like the Brews cup formula, where you have to tell those notes at different stage, is a good exercise. Let's see how the Rwandan end up with. So remember, Shyira, red bourbon, washed at 1700 meters above sea level. The florality really picks up, as well as the sweetness. Less lemony. Interestingly, it's a little bit less acidic as it cools down, and it gets more into the sweetness aspect for this coffee. So it went from this kind of sweet and bright cup to slightly more sweet and floral. With still the tangerines as the main character here. Let's see the second one. From Brazil, remember, Daterra estate, a low calf reserve with Aramosa and Lorena, 1200 meters above sea level. I forgot to mention the process, pop natural, like they do mostly in Brazil. And you can find more information on our website about the transparency, the food pairing, and the roasting approach. Here we got less of the nougat as it cools down. It gets slightly more fruitier, and you can taste some raisins. Not much cranberry, more those kind of sort of raisins and grapes as well. So a perfect dessert pairing where you can pair this with either a super classic chocolate dessert or a fruitier one. Both will match this cup of coffee. Last but not least, this one gets sweeter as it cools down. You feel still from some florals, little shy as it cools down, but the sweetness and the lychee really perks up as the coffee cools down at minute 7, minute 10. That's this month coffees. Spoil yourself today with 3 excellent brew, both using 12 grams here and 13 grams here with 200 grams of water at 92 degrees. So our classic recipe with 1 more grams on the Rwanda and Daterra estate to kind of increase the intensity just a bit to perceive the flavors a little bit more. And keeping everything the same for the geisha, it's perfect as it is. We have our Rwanda with those sweet and bright flavors, the Brazil from Daterra estate, which is a very smooth, very round, very sweet, and our newest geisha natural process from Panama, from Finca Lorraine and Adaura Coffee. Amazing people and amazing cup of coffee. I invite you to try those 3 coffees side by side. You will see the really difference between the 3 profiles we offer and the 3 vibes we're trying to communicate through flavors. Thank you very much for watching. Once again, Happy New Year. All the best for you this year, and see you next time for more video.